Hello, and welcome to this episode of Geography Girl. Today we're going to be delving into the France Universal Exhibition of 1900, which marked the turn of the century. It's an exhibition that defined the philosophy of the 19th century and was a monument dedicated by the French Republic to the glory of French art. It was the sixth of 10 major exhibitions held between 1855 and 1937, and paid tribute to the greatest French works of art from 1800 to 1900, cementing the image of French art to its international audience. The works presented chronologically, from neoclassicism to impressionism to the Beaux Arts exhibition, with the organisers boasting a more magnificent assembly of beautiful things is unimaginable. We saw the triumph of Art Nouveau, technological innovations, and some incredible artistic impressions of what the year 2000 will look like. It was the largest of its day and gathered 51 million visitors between April and November, celebrating the genius and diversity of modern civilization. It was held at the Esplanade of Les Invalides, the Champ de Mars, and the Trocadero, and at the Bank of Seine, with the Eiffel Tower painted in yellow right in the fore. It was a part of a series of universal exhibitions, many of which covered so far in Geography Girl episodes. I love covering these exhibitions because whenever I investigate any of them, I always uncover some fascinating political or architectural movement. They're generally state-sponsored, showcasing national goods and industry and arts, like the Chicago exhibition that birthed the City Beautiful movement, and the Osaka exposition where the US brought rocks from the moon to exert their political influence over Japan, which kind of fell on its face in the Cold War. The first international exhibition was held in London in 1851. And if you've not seen my video on this one, please check it out. It's basically an advertisement and a siren's call from the British establishment to convince the rest of the world to get involved in English capitalism. We have a fascinating allegory called The Christmas Pudding, which is written by Charles Dickens. Some view this as a metaphor for diversity and social cohesion, and some understand it as a critique of the British mode of capitalism. So if you want to know more, then I would definitely check out this video because it was just such a delight to investigate. The London exhibition was such an impressive exhibition that even the French Emperor Napoleon III attended and was deeply impressed. He commissioned the first Paris Universal Exhibition of 1855. Its purpose was to promote French commerce, technology and culture, just like the Brits had done in London. It was followed on by another in 1867, and after the Emperor's downfall in 1870, another in 1878, celebrating national unity after the defeat of the Paris Commune, and then in 1889, celebrating the centennial of the French Revolution. As the historian Richard Mandel put it, however much France saw her strength and glory slipping in other areas, there was one cultural manifestation in which French supremacy was unchallenged: the organisation and staging of the Universal Exhibitions. For Frenchmen, by this time, thoughts of the exhibitions produced emotions remarkably similar to those aroused by the thought of the French colonial empire. In the face of political embarrassment, humiliations in diplomacy and economic stagnation, exhibitions and empire compensated somewhat for other defeat. Though hardly the creation of the Republic, both showed a dynamic, richly inventive French Republic to the world. The exhibition boasted so many technological innovations, debuting the escalator, the diesel engine, X-Rise, and the first talking films. It marked the opening of the new Metropolitan Underground Railway, which was praised as being worthy of the Romans. This exhibition confirmed two artistic trends, which appeared in the mid-1870s and early 1880s, Impressionism and Symbolism. It was an era of Art Nouveau, which rejected historical styles to focus on nature rather than human culture. Unlike its Victorian predecessors, it did not replicate nature with scientific precision, but turned them into expressions of abstract ideas, which straddled awkwardly with demonstrations of industrial progress and consumer goods. At the exhibition, Art Nouveau artists exhibited on the Esplanade des Invalides, a broad walkway in the Seine's right bank, which occupied the exhibition's northwest corner. Here you could see a lightly built, though lavishly decorated building devoted to the broad classification of decorative arts. Designed by René Binet, the Porte Monumental was located at the Place de la Concorde, at the eastern entrance of the fair. Binet synthesizes natural, scientific rationalism and political intent. One historian, a writer of the time, claimed to see the vertebrae of the dinosaur in the porch, the cells of the beehive in the dome, and the corals in the pinnacles, and therefore an eclectic combination of natural imagery, perhaps intended to show similarities of forms and therefore an inherent structure of life across the natural world. Other architectural marvels of the time are the Grand and Petit Palais. Built for exhibition, these structures showcase the Beaux-Arts elegance, blending classical and modern design elements. The Gare d'Orsay and the Palace de l'Electricité demonstrated cutting-edge architectural technology, and the Eiffel Tower, originally built for the 1889 exhibition, stood at the centrepiece, painted in yellow, as a symbol of Paris's technological and cultural prowess. One of my favourite exhibitions from this event, like many of the world's greatest works of art, did not gain its notoriety until far after the event was over. An exhibition called France in the Year 2000 created a series of small paintings by a group of French artists, imagining what the year 2000 would look like. It was commissioned by Armand Gervais, who was a French toy manufacturer in Lyon. They were printed first as cigar box inserts and then postcards between 1899 and 1910. It was thought at least 78 cards were made by Cote and other artists. The exact number is unknown, as many are yet to be discovered. And these are just gorgeous, making illustrated predictions of the future that were almost prescient, and in many cases not so far off the mark. There were lots of examples of ideas of mechanised devices doing automated chores, like a chicken egg being incubated by machines, tailoring done with machines, crowds gathering for electronic music. There is even a depiction of a mechanised robot vacuum and a house on wheels. Depictions of warfare, guns fixed to cars, blimp-like battleships and industrial architecture, fields cut with combine harvesters, the driving forces of technological development. Other predictions didn't think so far outside of the box. There are lots of propellers, fireplaces, and 19th century fashion depicted. Some predictions are simply bizarre and show people getting up close and personal with marine life, such as playing underwater croquet, the public taking a whale bus, and swashbucklers riding on giant seahorses. We have a classroom of students learning via headphones, surprisingly close to the way students learn nowadays, however without textbooks being ground up in a mill and pumped into their heads. But noticeably absent are any images of space travel. I guess this is a concept so outside of the realm of imagination. They remain relevant and become increasingly more so as time passes, historian Romney says. One of the cards depicts a scientist interacting with microbes, another showing something very akin to a Zoom session. Looking at these cards is a bit like catching up with a friend you haven't seen since high school. That contraction of time in which it feels like as if you have experienced two time periods at once, thinking of all that was different in the past and how much has changed now. Gervais died in 1899 during the production of the cards, but for 25 years many of the cards sat idle in a toy plant. The visions were kept in a basement, relics from the past. They were resurrected when they were born by an antiquarian who kept them in his crypt for more than 50 years. It wasn't until Canadian writer Christopher Hyde came across them in a shop in Paris in 1978. Inspiration for a science book in 1986 called Future Days, a 19th century vision of the year 2000, where they were published. And I mean, how incredible. Some of these are so accurate and so far-fetched, but they're all wonderful. And that's it for today's episode. It's a bit of a random one, and I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you liked us, give us a like. If you want to subscribe, please do. I make new videos every Tuesday. Goodbye.